What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Surfside PPC YouTube channel. Today I'm going to be going over local services ads versus Google search ads. Basically, what's the difference? Which ones should you run? Should you run both? And basically answering all of your questions that you may have about search ads and local services ads. So this is a very quick, easy example of the way that they look and how they're a little bit different. Very first and foremost, when you search basically any home service near me, there's a variety of different categories that you can run local services for, but generally most home services near me, you're going to be seeing local services ads. So this example, I'm going to be using tree services. So just saying tree services near me. I'm in Myrtles Inlet, South Carolina. These are two local services ads that came up. And then if we click here on more tree service providers, you'll actually see what's called a pro list. So you have a couple of sponsored lists up here at the top. You'll see it in the URL. So local services pro list. These are all people that have basically submitted paperwork to say, yes, we have all of our verifications in terms of our business, our insurance, everything that we need to submit to Google. These are all essentially pros in the area that provide tree services in my area. So you'll see a decent amount here. Now, if we come back over here looking at local service ads versus search ads. Now, I don't look at it that way. I look at it as you should run both, and you should just understand that search ads may be a little bit more expensive than local service ads. But if you want your ads to appear at the top of Google, you're going to need to run both forms of advertisements because there's different formats that are showing at the very top of Google. And you may have searches where you have no local services ad showing. Also, you may have a month where you get 20 or 30 leads from local services ads, and then the next month you get 5. So you do see kind of these jumps around points with local services ads at times, and search is no different. It's not overly predictable and easy by any stretch of the imagination. Local services ads is more, I want to say it's a little bit more predictable in terms of once you run them for a few months, you have an idea of like, okay, this is kind of what we're going to spend. This is the amount of leads that we're going to get in. So I run them for clients currently, and there's some clients that we may spend $2,000 a month and we get 40 or 50 leads for that price. And we just know that we're going to have that pretty consistently month after month. We do have months that are a little bit better and worse, but that's kind of like the baseline number that we expect to see. So when you're running local services ads for a while, you tend to kind of have more of a, okay, this is what we're expecting from this. The problem with that is when you look at local services ads, it's essentially you're paying just for leads. So if there is a month that is slower in terms of the overall lead volume that's coming in, or if there is a month where you just happen to be losing out in the auction to some of your competitors who are running higher budgets, have better review scores, getting more reviews right now, then sometimes you might find like, hey, when in March we got 30 leads from local services ads, in April or May we got 10. So that's the main thing that I would say is the downside of local service ads. The leads tend to be less expensive. I do find the leads are lower quality than Google search ads leads, even though it's the same people coming in to search and going to both. I think the reason why I think they're lower quality is because I think with local services ads, you have more of a, let me get quotes from everybody. So you're almost at a race to the bottom at times. And to me, the leads become a little bit lower quality when you have, hey, I need 5 different quotes for this one thing. And everyone's giving you a price and you're basically saying, okay, I'm going to go with the lowest price. So that's kind of the one downside with local services ads. I wonder the long term of how Google handles local service ads in this way, because there's a part of it where they can't make it too easy for advertisers. Otherwise, you just, you're going to lower the amount that people are actually spending on ads. And there's a part where these can be a little bit more difficult to run. They've gotten very competitive in a lot of different markets that you just wonder how they're going to present advertisements in the future, or if it's just always going to look similar to this. But when you're running both of these, essentially what you have is your ads are running everywhere. So for a sponsored plumber here, we have sponsored plumbers in Myrtles Inlet. We have 2 up here at the top. To me, At Your Service Plumbing should be right here as well. If we scroll and you'll see right here, we have Hunter Plumbing LLC. They should also be at the very top there. At the very bottom, we have more. So we have Hunter Plumbing Services. So they're running your standard search ads. They may be running a Performance Max campaign. It's possible just based on the images and all the things they have here. But these are good looking advertisements, sponsored results on the first page, even if they're at the very bottom. And it gives you a better chance of getting more leads coming in. So with local services ads, they connect directly to your Google business profile. With search ads, you essentially connect your Google business profile to it, but it's not in the same way that your profile is appearing as the ad basically every single time. So I would say the main difference is Google search ads leads can be a little bit more expensive and a little bit harder to track, because essentially somebody could come to your website. I could tell my wife, hey, I need you to call the local sprinkler, company. I was just researching and I want you to call this company and make an appointment. So it could be one of those things, and during that you lose tracking. Or I go through their website first, and then I end up through the Google Business Profile, or I'm doing research at work and end up finishing the process at home. There are a lot of reasons why you lose your tracking with Google search ads. It's also, there's just people that are very strict in terms of they use VPNs. They are using things that it makes it harder to track people longer than just right after the click. So to me, Google search ads and local service ads should be viewed as, hey, our monthly advertising budget is $5,000. We want to split it between both of these, and we want to put it where we're getting the best leads and the most leads. How do you figure that out? Really, that's the hard part, is taking the time to say, okay, we're getting better leads from Google search ads, or, Google search ads might be driving us leads that are $10 or $20 more per lead, but it's driving us triple the amount of leads as local service ads. On the flip side, if you could spend $5,000 in local service ads and get X amount of leads at a cost that works for your business, then local service ads are really the way to go. To me, you should run both. You want simpler lead management. Essentially, local service ads, you're paying per lead instead of just per click. So that's the one positive, is that when somebody comes in here, they're getting a quote, they're getting your phone number. You're paying when people actually take the step to say, okay, we're going to actually request a quote from this business. The downside, again, is get competitive quotes could be something where, to me, I don't love these features, because to me, it's like becomes a race to the bottom for some of these companies. Search ads, a little bit more kind of open-ended, where you're getting people to your website and then your website is actually still selling them. The one thing I don't like about local service ads is these all really kind of look the same. If you go into Plumber Near Me and I go, okay, sponsored plumbers near me. Okay, this one has 1,000 reviews, 4.8. This one has 552 reviews, 4.9. 2.6 thousand reviews, 4.9. 1.3 thousand reviews, 4.9. It's like, what's really the difference between any of these? Truthfully, what is the difference? And I recently contacted a plumber, and it was beach plumbing, and it's not even here. So there's a lot of things about plumbing, and it's one of those where it's, to me, the way it doesn't really stand out in the way that I think they should in terms of advertisements and being able to, so here's beach plumbing all the way here at the bottom. So 587 reviews, 5+ years in business, serves Merle's Inlet. So it's one of those where running local service ads feels like you're just a number among all the other ads that are listed there. These all kind of not too much different. And then ultimately what you're doing is you're saying, well, we want to pay for leads and we want us to appear at the top. And for the most part, people don't have as much brand loyalty to some of these local service companies, although there definitely is in certain markets. So local service ads, search ads, when should you run both? To me, I would always start with local service ads, see what kind of leads you can get coming in. If you're not getting anything, run search ads. I would also just say start by running both, put budget behind both of them, and basically figure out, hey, this is where the budget is being spent better. LSAs could be one of those where you spend a whole month and you're just not getting any activity, and that's really the biggest downside. To budget across both, I would say smaller budget, lean towards local service ads. Medium, run both. Larger budget, keep both active and basically maxed out. This is the ideal scenario, and I know people don't want to pay for a ton of leads or have a huge marketing budget or say, well, why would I spend $5,000-$10,000 a month for leads? And ultimately, it's if you're producing a lot of quality leads, you just have a much better chance at getting more jobs, bigger jobs, keeping your crews busy, keeping your lead pipeline intact. And then you don't have these moments of like, hey, we have nothing coming in for the next few days. So that could definitely be a challenge. LSA is definitely easier and more predictable on a per lead. Search ads are harder to manage. If you're hiring somebody to manage both, like Surfside PPC, then essentially what you would say is, hey, we want to run both of these, manage them. Let's talk in a month and see what's performing better and where we should put our budget. So this is local services ads versus search ads. If you have any questions about any of this, please leave them in the comment section. Thank you for listening to my podcast, and I'll see you in the next episode.